in recent years, Namibia has embarked on a digital transformation journey to harness the potential of technology and drive the country's digital transformation. As part of this effort, the country is making efforts to develop a digital strategy. Now, the development of a digital strategy will involve defining the government's vision and objectives regarding digital technologies, outlining the necessary policies and initiatives, and identifying key areas for development, for investment and development rather. Now, to help us understand the importance of Namibia's digital strategy, which is being shaped by Impact Tank and the United Nations Development Program UNDP Accelerator Lab, I'm now joined in studio by Omagano Kankondi, the head of solution mappings at the UNDP this morning. Good morning, ma'am, and welcome to Good Morning Namibia.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
Okay. Now, let's talk about what is the current status in terms of Namibia when it comes to digital transformation. And while you're at it, what is digital transformation? Let's forget about the dictionary definitions.
So the current status, I think we're really making good progress, which started also with the Minister of MICT, where there was a passing of the Access to Information Bill, which is really a good step for us, a good step ahead into what we hope to achieve with the digital transformation strategy. So digital transformation would mean that we are capacitating all entities, especially government, the public service, with digital capabilities. We are giving examples, taking, let's say, physical forms online so that we have access. It's easier to actually process things. Job applications, we're looking at Ministry of Health and what they're doing. They're rolling out, they've got a 5-year strategy where they're rolling out an online platform for records for patients. Then we can actually, you know how people go to the hospital, you've lost your passport and the doctor cannot really give you holistic services because he does not know what your health background is. So now if it's online, it's better, you're able to get better health services, for example. So digital transformation is really capacitating all the entities that will help us with social services, environmental solutions. So it's really capacitating, making sure that we're online, we're on par with what's happening in the world. And we have better access to services. Really, for me, my focus would just be to say better services for us.
Okay. Now, we understand that there's a collaborative effort that's between Impact Tank, the UNDP Accelerator Lab, and other stakeholders in implementing this strategy. What is the update on that?
So I think we must also not forget to mention GIZ, as they're the ones funding this development of the strategy. We've also got MICT, who's really hands-on. Then we also have to obviously include various stakeholders, the end users. So all the government agencies and offices as well. So, and then we've got our development partners ourselves. But yeah, we're really looking at a holistic approach. So it's difficult to mention all of them. But the key ones right now, it's GIZ, our funders, MICT, Impact Tank, which is the first venture builder in Namibia, and UNDP through the Accelerator Lab.
Okay. Yeah. What's the progress in terms of implementing this strategy?
So we are still at the beginning stages. We are starting with stakeholder engagements next week. So it's a whole week of engaging various stakeholders using, we'd like to say, different methods instead of, let's say, a workshop approach. We really want to use methods that we use in the Accelerator Labs to get more information from the people. So we are using participatory methods where we're really getting to engage with people. We are drawing out plans together. It's a co-creation process, not us telling people this is what we're going to do and maybe like getting them to agree. We're listening to them. If we are in the, let's say you are a public servant in MICT, what problems have you seen that are happening? What are the challenges? What are the pain points? Then we use that to help us develop the strategy. So we're really still at the beginning of this process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what are the possible impacts, would you say, of this digital strategy, specifically perhaps on Namibia's economy, society? I know you talked about the benefits of having certain services online.
Yes.
And in terms of overall development, what are some of those benefits?
So let me talk about some of the services and just what's already happening. So just there are already entities who are actually working on certain initiatives. I've mentioned the Ministry of Health. We've also got the bank, the central bank online to try and really support online transactions. We've got universities. They're coming on board and making sure that their curriculum takes on more courses or developing more courses in data science and really in the digital space. We've got some of the platforms such as NASFAF is also taking their applications online. So that's really what's happening. There are many more that are already working in that space. Economic-wise, I can maybe speak to digital transactions. I'm sure you're aware of the AFTA, African Continental Free Trade Agreement. And there's a digital protocol right now where it is really to enable transactions online. So that will allow us not to just limit our, let's say, e-commerce, right? We're not just limiting it to the borders of Namibia, but we are actually able to transact online with payment gateways, everything in place for us, supported by, let's say, central banks, maybe Bill, Act, and so forth, to actually take part in that. So market access is bigger. We've got a market base for certain companies that's wider. Currently, actually, one of the projects that we're embarking on as the UNDP Accelerator Lab, we're working with our Accelerator Lab in Zambia and our regional bureau Africa, so the head of all UNDP in Africa, to test our transactions between Namibia and Zambia with a platform that we've been working on for about, it's an e-commerce platform called Tambula, where we only have Namibian products on board. So we'd really like to test out, if you're in Zambia and you order from our platform, how does this work for you? We've got our logistic partners on board. So if I had to use that, if you have an e-commerce platform, you've got a wider access to market. So obviously then that as an individual, as an entrepreneur, you get more economic benefits. So you can imagine if we look at digital transformation, digital transactions like that, and we have entrepreneurs accessing a wider market, the implications will be wonderful for us. So I hope that gives a clearer idea of economic-wise the benefits.
Hopefully this will be able to be attained very soon,
yes.
Considering our economic situation. But let's talk about what are some of the current existing challenges, especially maybe perhaps faced in Namibia due to a lack of digital infrastructure in the country.
Coordination also, as we have to come together as stakeholders to do it in a systematic way. So coordination is it's a bit of a challenge. Also I mean, we know we've got the digital divide, but as I've seen lately, according to CRAN, that there's, I think it's 81% coverage of the country. So there are entities like CRAN and MTC working on that to ensure that, we close the digital divide. So that is still an issue. We have just digital literacy in itself as well. So as we develop the strategy, we also need to ensure that digital literacy is attained, or we're actually supporting people to be capacitated in that way. We want to make sure that we are addressing challenges parallel. So as we're actually developing this, we are also working on other stuff, focusing on infrastructure, physical infrastructure, capacity within people, education. So it's all parallel to make sure that this actually, as you said, we can attain it sooner. So if we do this parallel and just not focus on one thing, we can really, really, I think, attain it faster.
So the focus is both short-term and long-term.
100%.
But other than, what are we doing to ensure that this digital landscape that we are currently, that is evolving, what are we putting in place to ensure that it is both adaptive, responsive to the changes of technology and consumer behavior, and also considering the aspects of AI now that is at the center stage?
So for us, in the process of developing, and really that's all I can really focus on right now, of developing the strategy, is our approach to how we develop it. I mentioned making sure we're engaging all stakeholders and using different ways of actually getting information from them. We believe in a concept called collective intelligence. So we're bringing together all these partners to harness collective intelligence and using the trends that are happening in the digital space right now to ensure that we are agile. Our approaches are agile and they're not rigid, because that would keep us we'll be stuck, we'll become stagnant. So agility is important, meaning that we constantly come back and look at what is happening around us within our context. How do we continue to make sure that our people are on par, we're not leaving anybody behind. But really, it's just the method that we're using to collect information that will allow us to develop a really strong, comprehensive strategy that is not rigid.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, you'll be dealing with people's data, customers' data,
Yes.
so the issue of security,
Yes.
data privacy are
Yes.
paramount. How are you going to ensure that it's safe and sound, it's not sold off maybe through cookies to an external party for them to advertise? How secure can they be with their data, that knowing that it's in your hands?
So this is still an ongoing process. So it is really, I mean, if we cannot secure data, then the strategy will collapse. So as we go about developing, that is really a central issue. And the MICT, they've actually already started working on this digital protection, policy around digital protection. So again, parallel, all of this is happening. I do hope that once we've finished, I think in the next 2 months, you'll invite me back on and I can give you exactly how we're going to approach the data protection.
Okay, I'm sure the colleagues in the background are listening to that. Now, as we begin to wrap up our conversation right now, you talked about the issue that the stakeholders conference that's slated to take place.
Yes.
Talk to us about when they are starting, who's invited to participate, and when will they end? So
we're starting, it's a whole week. We're starting Monday to Friday. Again, it is our colleagues from the government. It is our colleagues from private sector, from the banks. It is individuals, entrepreneurs. It is business entrepreneurs who are working on e-commerce platforms. It is money lending, obviously regulated, who have, it is everybody in the ecosystem that will be using and who can benefit from any digital platform. We're also looking at people from the informal sector because they're also taking to using digital transactions. Digital transactions also mean, WhatsApp. That's also a form of e-commerce platform for a lot of people in the informal sector. Again, just to emphasize that we want this to be holistic. So part of the reason that we make sure that the informal sector is actually included in this is that we don't want to leave anybody behind. If we are going to try and meet up with the rest of the world, the furthest one, the people that are furthest behind, we have to make sure that they're included in this process. So it's a very inclusive process. And I mean, we cannot make sure that every single person is involved, but really, I think right now, when we look at our list of stakeholders, we've got a fairly good bunch that will really bring about information and approaches that can really help us make sure that it's a comprehensive strategy.
Well, Madam, thank you. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but thank you very much for making time to speak to us this morning.
Thank you so much, Lot.
Okay. Now, that was Omagano Kankondi, Head of Solution Mapping at UNDP, talking to us about Namibia's digital transformation strategy that is currently under construction. She also indicated that there will be stakeholders engagement slated for some time next week from Monday to Friday. So if you have interest, please do reach out to UNDP and see how you can be able to participate